Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. The Prophet was asked, does a person lie? But before that he was asked, does a Muslim fornicate? And yes, but he's not a Muslim while he's in that sin. But the Prophet didn't say no, he said that this does happen. And another hadith it says, the Prophet said that no fornicator fornicates except that while he's fornicating he's not a believer. At that moment in which he is committing that sin, his faith has been lifted up. And what is that faith? Faith is to believe that there's no God except Allah and the Prophet is last and final messenger. So the what is contingent upon that belief is that Allah is watching you, Allah is observing you. That is removed at that moment, because if the person had that belief, he wouldn't be doing any of the sins, like even the small sins. And the Prophet and the thing is that all of the sins are based on this heedlessness, and the shaitan is working day and night to make you forget the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. And if you had that observing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would never be sinning. So the cure of people who sin and then return back to sin over and over again is to persist in your heart that meaning that Allah is watching you, Allah is observing you. The shaitan would not want you to think about that. He would want you to think that Allah is most forgiving, most merciful, but he won't want you to think, like for instance, a person has a thought comes to a person that let me sin, and instead of saying astaghfirullah, oh Allah forgive me for this thought, he would say don't worry, Allah is most forgiving and most merciful. He has pardoned people who've done much worse. We know he's forgiven people who've murdered and killed and fornicated. And what he says is true. Allah is most forgiving and most merciful. But the cure for stopping yourself from sinning is to bring the reality of the meanings into heart that Allah is watching you. And shaitan cannot tell you that Allah is not watching you, because if you do that, you'd be a disbeliever. You reject that thought. So this is why one of the litanies of a lot of the awliyas, which included Sayyidina Abu Yazid al-Bustami or Abdullah Tusturi and Sayyidina Habib Hassan al-Bahr al-Jifri, is from their litanies. The litanies every single night was Allah is Allah ma'i, Allah is with me, Allah hadiri, Allah is with me, Allah nadiri, Allah is watching me, Allah shahidi, Allah is my witness, Allahu qaribun minni, Allah is close to me. And this was their daily word. And he said most of the divine openings that came to Habib Hassan bin Salih al-Jifri, who the one who wrote the book Prayers of those who are drawn close to Allah, is because through this word that he used to read, Allahu ma'i, Allahu hadiri, Allahu nadiri. So his greatest divine openings came, spiritual openings came through this word. So you don't know from how and where you can get a spiritual opening, but he was persistent in that. And this is what we refer to in the path as dhikrul ma'iyya, the dhikr of closeness or togetherness with Allah. Allahu ma'i, Allahu hadri, Allahu nadri, Allahu shahidi, Allahu qariba minni. Make that a word, but when you say it with sincerity and truthfulness and with witnessing. Allahu ma'i, Allah is with me. Allahu nadri, Allahu hadri, Allahu shahidi, Allahu qariba minni. And he would say this before going to bed. And there's nothing wrong to say this in other times as well, when going out the house, when working, or Allah ma'i is a type of dhikr. You're remembering Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is with me. Allah hadir, Allah is present with me. Allah. And then this dhikr is beautiful. It has more beauty than majesty. He didn't say Allahu yuraqibuni, Allah is observing me. Allahu muttali'un alayhi, Allah uh, uh, is yatatabba'uni. Because these words, like yuraqib, which is or yuhasib, or judging, these are words, names that have majesty and rigor in them. But to say Allahu ma'i, Allah is with me, Allahu hadiri, Allahu nadiri, these are beautiful names. And there's a difference between nadar, watching, and to muraqib, to observe something. There's different meanings in Arabic. So you feel closeness and intimacy when you read these words. And this is also a word that you should use to to teach your children, to nurture your children. This, if you want your children to develop this muraqabah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you get them accustomed to this dhikr, not when they become uh, uh, reach puberty, but before. So you start with an age when the child is capable of answering questions. You ask him a question and he answers that question. If a child, you ask him a question, he's saying something else. And they also say a child who can eat on his own, or he can wash himself on his own. So if you want to plant in your son and daughter's heart muraqabah of Allah Azza wa Jal, so that when they grow old, you wouldn't be afraid for them to do any sin. So they won't be able to sin, even the small sins, unless they reach a state of forgetfulness or heedlessness. So you teach them and you rear them and you make them memorize this dua. And you explain to them the meaning, not just that you make them memorize it without them knowing its meaning. Then he says, does he lie? As in, does a believer lie? The Prophet said, no. Meaning, a believer can fall into other sins like fornication and cheat and lie and stealing, but he will not lie. Why? Because lying is the opposite of faith completely. Lying is the opposite of faith. A person lying without excuse, meaning in his core there is khubuth, and khubuth is the tree of hypocrisy. So the hypocrite cheats and lies. These are the daughters of lies. Every liar is a ghadir, is a treacherous. Every liar is somebody who cheats. There's no doubt. If he can lie, then he can easily cheat and be treacherous and he can do ghadar, which is to backstab. It's a branch of lying. Also ghish, so imagine treachery, to cheat. It's a big sin. It's considered somebody cheats on his wife, or these are considered something really big. Similarly, ghish. Also ghadar, to All these three, no matter, despite them being so severe, they come from lying. So lying is the mother, the source. So cheating, uh, uh, lying, tricking people, all these come from lying. This is why the Prophet said, somebody who lies is not a believer. Because if he lies, he does all the other. He does treachery, he does cheating, he does backstabbing, he does everything. This is why the Prophet said, whoever ghashana, whoever cheats us or tricks us or tries to fool us, he's not from us. These are attributes. These are not attributes of believers. They're either attributes of a disbeliever or a hypocrite. The Prophet made them a sign of a hypocrite. That when you trust them, they stab you. These attributes of lying and cheating and treachery, they run through their veins. They might A person may do by mistakenly, but a person's entire life is a lie. A hypocrite's life is built on lies. He's a hypocrite. He can't live in any other way, with any other way. So you should be very careful working with such people. So we make dua that Allah protects us, guards us from working with such people. And this is something really important. You should need to know that cheating and treachery, these are these things happen in the unseen. You're not aware of, but the believer, Allah will reveal to the believer the cheating of this person, and it'll appear as a sign on that person's face. And this is not just for everyone. This is for the people of Basira, people of inner sight, that they can see the person's face darkened, black. These people, you need to be careful of them. You'll see the darkness on their face. You should be careful from such people. Maybe so if Allah shows this to you, does not mean you're a wali, but it means that Allah loves you and He wants to protect you from this person. You're a believer and you're true to me, but as for the wali, he sees that non-stop. It's not like a glimpse he sees. The wali sees it non-stop. Allah creates for them a furqan, something that makes them. But us, we have sins, and one moment we're walking forward, one moment we're walking backwards. We've mixed up good and bad actions. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guards the believers in difficult situations. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and this is how we save the believers. Don't deal with people you're not at ease with. Maybe you might see that person as simple, but your heart is restricted. Then don't deal with such people. Especially when you make istikhara and your heart feels restricted and you feel like don't enter into any kind of work where your heart feels restrained, unless it's something it's a dire thing. There's no other way besides it, and there's no other choice. And when you just have this particular choice, then that's a different. But if you have another choice, then don't dive into that matter. Also, if a person cannot pray istikhara and he is put in a situation where he has to sign, or a woman cannot pray istikhara because she's in her monthly menstrual cycle, then the solution in that situation is to make the dua of istikhara. If you can't pray the prayer of istikhara, then at least make the dua, because the istikhara is two things: is the prayer, the two rak'ats, and then the dua. You can make the intention about a particular thing and make istikhara, that, and you specify that thing, whether to buy or to sell, or, and if you can't make that istikhara, if you can't make that prayer and you have to decide, then make that dua at that moment. Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi ilmika wa astaqdiruka qudratika. The Habib's reading the dua, and then wait for a few moments and look at what comes into your heart. The answer will come to you, inshallah ta'ala. Don't deal with people who you don't feel at ease with them. Also, there are signs of liars. These are like body language. From the body language, you can tell. You can see that the person is not. He doesn't look straight at you. But it's not 100%. And there's a difference between a person that's shy and a person is anxious. And so a person could be shy and embarrassed in front of somebody, and that's different than somebody being anxious. So it's different from situation to situation. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes us deal only with the true people and the God conscious, and we don't deal with the liars and the cheaters and the treacherous, and may He not make us from them. May Allah pardon us and forgive us if we have lied, or if we've cheated, or we've deceived, or we've tricked somebody. He says that lying cannot be done by a Muslim. Cheating cannot be done by a believer. Ghadar cannot be done by a believer. Khiyana, cheating. And kha'in does not mean somebody who hides things from you. Ghadar or khiyana, or treachery, betrayal, this does not mean I'm not telling, it does not mean I hide something from someone. Like, they're private matters that I don't need to tell anyone. And Imam Ghazali's mentioned this. A person has matters that are private to him, and he has every right to hide them. A person might have some secrets that he doesn't even tell his own father. Similarly, a woman, she might have some secret that that are private to that person. And it doesn't impact anything if you say or don't say. Like for instance, your bank account balance. Then you don't have to tell people that. Or about the things that you're thinking about. Anything that is private to a person, he can tell whoever he wants. He can hide it from whoever he wants. But Habib's advice is anything that is your secret, you should keep it to yourself unless there's somebody that you are certain that that person loves you. The person loves you for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, not somebody who claims love. What does it mean to love for the sake of Allah? Meaning, if I tell that person, he'll be happy to hear. And you see in their happiness there's uh, some uh, some jealousy hidden in. So you only tell people who are truly happy when they hear your secret. And you can tell. It's not up to you. It's not 100% that you have to. Some people say, if you don't tell me, that means you don't love me. No, this is not correct words. Who told you that if I didn't tell you all my secrets, that means I don't love you? No, this doesn't mean that at all. This is incorrect. Or I don't trust you if I don't tell you everything. That's also not correct. I'm 100% sure that there are people that have secrets that even their parents don't know. That doesn't mean they don't trust their parents. But it could be that the mother or father will not benefit from that, or their spouse, or the husband has secrets they don't tell their wife because there's no late relation. There's not part of their relationship. It's not a sign of love that I will give all my secrets to a person. It's not that. But true, if you see a person who does tell you his secrets, true that he loves you. But also, if he hides, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It's his person's personal freedom. The Prophet ﷺ said that the worst is qawl al-zur, because qawl al-zur is bearing false witness. It has great harm. It has oppression. Qawl al-zur can bearing a false witness or false testimony can cause somebody's execution. Somebody says, uh, I didn't kill this person. Go and bear testimony. Then I didn't. I was somewhere else when this person was hit by my car, and then the person goes and gives that testimony. This has great harm in society. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said it with such severity. He was reclining, and then he got up, and then he got up and he said, "Truly, a false testimony. Truly, a false testimony. Truly, a false testimony." There's no doubt that shirk is worse, but the harm of it is so severe. That's why the Prophet ﷺ got up uh, and said it. And it is oppression. What is severe harm is to oppress somebody. Allah Azza wa Jal is not pleased at all that you oppress somebody, even if it's a small amount. This is what Allah Azza wa Jalla said. He warned uh, on the Day of Judgment that truly the one who has any oppression done or has done any oppression will be a loser. If you come on the sins between you and Allah Azza wa Jal, the kafara, the expiations, the things that you know you do, the intercessions of people, the intercessions of the Prophet ﷺ, the intercessions of your parents, your neighbors, those get forgiven. But dhulm, oppression, it doesn't. Even intercession does not, unless the person who you oppressed forgives you. This is something. This is why it says لَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ حَمَلَ ظُلْمًا. Truly, he's a loser, the one who has any kind of oppression on his slate. So, zulm is to deprive somebody of their right. Right could be something that is of his provisions, like wealth or his property, and then their rights, like rights of the parents, rights of the child, rights of the uncles and aunts and your spouse, and this is why Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says that give your relatives their due right. Then there's rights between Muslims, like to say salams when you meet them, to reply to their salams when they say salams to them, to visit them when they're sick, to go to their funeral when they die, to help him when he's oppressed, to defend him, to pay, to help them in their needs. If a person were to reflect on themselves, they will come to realization that they have truly fallen short in fulfilling the rights of people. We're not talking about people might have this, oh, I say salam, she didn't respond. These are all whispers of shaitan. So, but there's no doubt that there is great deficiency. There's very few people who this is why one of the du'as that you read every single day, oh Allah, forgive me and my parents and my teachers and whoever has a right over me. Anyone who has a right over me that I know or I don't know, that I've forgotten, who is living or dead, oh Allah, forgive that person. Because this is the only solution for people you're not even aware of who might be upset with you. So you make dua for them. If this oppressed person is upset with you and he is in his grave, the people in their graves are waiting for the gifts from the living, like how a person drowning in the sea is waiting for a rope to save him. And we're not saying, so if there's somebody you have oppressed and he's in his grave and he's upset with you and he's waiting for the day of judgment, to come so that he can take from your good deeds. He is drowning and he needs any good deed to save him. So and so did not say salams to me. I don't know if you're my friend or my relative. You didn't say salams to me. You backbit. You spoke about me negatively. Give me your deeds. Even if it's good deeds from his wife or his husband or her son. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that a person would wish to, in his own or her own exchange, that his own child or his spouse be sent into hell to be saved. So your gift will be sent to them in their graves. And it will be said, you have been forgiven and your grave has been expanded. and then they will say, Alhamdulillah, how is my grave expanded? And then it will be said that so and so made dua for you in the so and so mosque, such and such mosque, and Allah Azza wa Jal accepted their dua, and your grave has been expanded. And then he says, who's that person made the dua? And then it will be said, so and so, that person who you're upset with. And then he'll say, Allah, I forgive that person. This is why this dua, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِمَشَايِخِ مَنْ لَهُ حَقٌّ عَلَيَّ. Oh Allah, forgive me, my parents, my teachers, and all those who have a right over me. This is a very important dua to make every single day. May Allah forgive us all. These are words of Imam al-Ghazali, they're precious words. He says lying is haram, is prohibited in every single thing, except for certain situations that he'll mention. But in general, it's not allowed in any situation, except in certain situations that he'll mention. Even if a mother says to her child, come to me and I'll give you a sweet. Whether it's a mother or father, doesn't matter. Come, I have a sweet in my pocket, come and I'll give you. And he's just lying. And the child comes running, and then there's no sweet in their hands, and they just hug the child. And then they kiss the child, and then they don't give it. This is haram. Don't say it is a child, he doesn't understand. No, why are you lying? You just upset him. He doesn't know it's a lie. He just thinks that you just tricked him. What's the point of you kissing him 100 times? It will be written as a lie. Even to an animal. If you have an animal from the cattle, like a donkey, and you'd give him some kind of food, and it comes to you, or a cat, you call the cat, and the cat comes, and you're like, and looking for food, that's a lie. Somebody said these are animals. If you lie to animals, you lie to humans. Islam wants you to be true to every single thing, because you see Allah Azza wa Jal, and you don't see anything other than Him. Allah Azza wa Jal, and you need to understand this. Allah Azza wa Jal created man to be the vicegerent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this land. So how could he lie? Animal, let him be an animal. Let it be an animal. There's no need for you to lie or to belittle. You can't call an animal by its name as to belittle it, like to say, come here dog, or come here donkey. But to say it with that tone, as if you're belittling it with that condescending manner, is not allowed. And people will say, this is an animal, what's that got to what's wrong? Let alone a human saying to another human, if Allah Azza wa Jal has made it prohibited for you to call a donkey in the condescending manner, then what about you calling another person by a name like that? This is why This is why it is a sunnah that if anyone has any animals, that they should give it a name. And this is common amongst Arabs. You give that this horse has this name and this cat has this name. If a person would say, I have a lot of cattle, I have a lot of cattle, I'll run out of names. Just give them numeric names. This is Sharia. This is adab with Allah. You are Allah's vicegerent on this earth, so you need to respect all of His creation. Even swine. That don't belittle even the swine. It was created like that out of wisdom from Allah Azza wa Jal. You have you have no need to belittle that creation. True, Allah Azza wa Jal has prohibited us from eating that for wisdom. Is Allah's wisdom. That does not mean you to look down upon it, because that is the starting of you starting to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. Why did Allah create this in the first place? No. You have no there's no business of yours. Allah creates whomever or whatever He wishes. I created you human and I made your form perfected, and I made you the vicegerent, and then you question me? Are you not afraid that I can convert you in the form of a donkey? And this is what's referred to as maskh, where humans were converted. The, the, that a person um, does not he descends to such an extent uh, um, of abject dishonor before Allah Azza wa Jal, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would convert them into animals. When somebody goes and questions every single thing, why did Allah create this? Why did Allah create that? Why did He create impurities? Uh, uh, Allah Azza wa Jal created impurities for a wisdom and said, stay away from impurities. He said He created the pig, the animal, the swine, for a reason, and He said, stay away from it. If hypothetically speaking, Allah Azza wa Jal, only created a dog and pig as meat to eat, and He says you're not allowed to eat that, you're not supposed to question that. I have created for you, but that's a false hypothetical situation, because Allah has created a cornucopia of choices for you to indulge in terms of food and drink, and then you're questioning me about pig, wanting to why I'm not allowed to eat a pig. That's just indicative of a disease inside of you. Then he says, Imam Ghazali says, words of the awliya, that a person should avoid lying, or even in his thoughts, even in his imaginations, that you're imagining a cow is speaking, and then grandizer comes, and then and then and then the 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 cow comes and charges with his horns. Is it prohibited? If you imagine things that are haram, then it's haram. But if you imagine things that are not haram, but it has an effect in you, in your inside, in your batin, it creates a deformed image inside of you, because this imagination that is not correct, and this is what we're living in this day and age on the internet with the AI. these virtual things, uh, and then what happens? To the point you start believing them. Now, for instance, there are a lot of these clips that are spreading, and it looks apparent that they are made through AI. But there are people who believe it. But people with experience knows that they're done by AI. But but there is possibility by them spreading over and over again, people will start wanting to see them and thinking that people start thinking that it's real, because lies in its initial stages are looked at as something uh, evil and bad. But when it becomes common, so it says that these imaginations or these false images, uh, let's think you're imagining animals are flying. I know these animals don't fly, but let me imagine that these animals fly. Imam Ghazali is saying there's nothing wrong in that, but it has an effect in your batin, which is your spirit, because the spirit does not like or accept any kind of imagination. So if you want to look and witness the realm of the malakut, the celestial realm, which is Allah's paradise in this world, where you can witness Allah's divine manifestations, which are only visible for the true believers. If you want this, then you need to stay away from imaginations, because you will be deprived from all these visions. So even in your dreams, you will see nightmares. Are are nightmares something real? No, they're they are thoughts coming. They're from shaitan, but shaitan comes through your imaginations. You allowed for shaitan through your imaginations. Shaitan, and this is something very important for you to know, shaitan loves things that are not reality. And we'll give an example, like Quran or Sharia prohibited statues. To make a statue of an animal. Let's say you made a statue of a lion. Is this statue real? Is it a real lion? No, it's not. So it's a lie. But let's say, and everyone knows it's okay. So let's go ahead. Everyone knows it's not a. Everyone knows it's not a real lion. Everyone knows it's a statue. But Shaitan, he uses that opportunity. Look at the children of Israel. Shaitan duped them through one person to, to make a calf from gold. Make a calf from gold. So when they made it, and when they made it, before they made it, they weren't told worship it. They said just make it. But once they made it, they started hearing a sound that was coming out from it, from inside that statue. So it has a sound, and then somebody said, "This is your God." That sound was coming from Shaitan itself. Comes into these forms, these fake forms, whether they're statues or anything else. So then they were tried, and then they started worshipping. This is something you made with your own hands. How Shaitan tricked you into thinking that, because and this is why it's become prohibited in our Sharia to make any form that has spirit in it. So whether you make it in gold or wood or anything, Shaitan can take that form. Similarly, your imaginations, and then you see that in your dreams in the form of nightmares. You feel upset and you wake up afraid. true, it does not affect your life, but you don't sleep well. And some people, because of their nightmares, they're afraid of even sleeping. They stay awake, and then they wake up afraid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create you to be afraid. He created you to sleep and wake up fresh. The reason for these nightmares is these imaginations, which are not true imaginations. What is the alternative? The alternative is the worship of reflection, contemplation. Anything. When Shaitan has stopped us from doing the real worship of tafakkur, which is reflection, so the Prophet said, that Shaitan cannot take the form of the Prophet in dreams. We'll stop at this much, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal. Also, some families, they say to their children, imagine this and imagine that. You should not do this. Stay away from this. The alternative is to reflect in things that is permissible for the children to think about, or to develop mental faculties. Like, for instance, think of 10 opposites, for instance, or give me a puzzle, for instance, as in to use your mind to what is the come up with a problem. These things make the mind grow, but just these empty imaginations have no benefit. It actually is a sign of deficient intellect. Maybe forgot to mention, and before concluding the lesson, that from the vocations of the tongue, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create the tongue? Is firstly to remember Him, to mention Him. This is why from the wisdom of Sharia, is that the first thing you say when you wake up is to remember Allah Azza wa Jal, because it was created for this very reason. And the last thing that you say before you go to bed is to remember Allah Azza wa Jal. So you start your day with the dhikr and you end your day with the dhikr. And similarly, your eyes. As soon as you wake up, you look into the sky, and this is what the Prophet ﷺ would do. When he would wake up, he would look into the skies and read the verses of the last two verses of Al-Imran. Because for this reason, the eyes were created, to look into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. But this is the start. Then you live your day, and similarly you end your day. You go back to your bed, and you're in that state of reflection. You're reflecting on your day, like, alhamdulillah, Allah, I went to the mosque today. Allah allowed me to go to the mosque, and you are grateful. So these kind of reflections and ponderings, they protect you from these empty imaginations. So if you don't occupy yourself with what is beneficial, the shaitan will make you be preoccupied with what is non-beneficial. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla that He pardons us and forgive us for if any of what we've said is a lie or backbiting, or that Allah forgives us for the sins of the eyes and the ears and all of the limbs. Oh Allah, forgive us and our parents and our teachers and anyone who has a right over us. Ameen. Habibi is saying Jazakumullah khair to everyone who is attending and who's listening. Habib give the ijaza for the dhikr. Allahu ma'i, Allahu hadiri, Allahu nadiri, Allahu shahidi, Allahu qareebun minni. You start by saying 11 times before going to bed, which is what Sayyidina Abi Yazid al-Bastami used to say. And then you can increase based on how you experience, what you experience and what you feel of spiritual states, because this is a very beautiful dhikr in its foundations. And this is he was saying, we always remind us that AI is what is there now, and we have to take benefit from it when it comes to but all of these other things, like the fake videos and all of that, that's all haram. It's to some people make videos of other people to make fun of them. Even these cartoon pictures, videos. These AI applications, people can ask, make my picture in cartoon form. Allah Azza wa Jal did not create you in that form. Can AI make you better than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you? So a person should be careful in this. And this is a very beautiful question. Firstly, everyone has a form that Allah has made them, but that and His ego. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to purify it. Someone cannot say, oh, Allah has made me like that I just hit people, or I curse people, or I tell them whatever is in my mind. No, that's not Islam. This is a mistake. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create you as somebody who mocks people or makes fun of people or lies it? Allah Azza wa Jal created you a pure child, innocent child. And then the world came and taught you all of that filth. But don't say this is my nature. A person takes on the nature of his environment, but that's not an excuse. Your responsibility is to purify yourself. So wali, at the end of the day, he's a human. he may have certain human characteristics that at times overcome him, like anger, but that is not his common state. Unless there's something that is that as what is referred to as ghalabat al-hal, where a certain spiritual state is predominant on that person, based on whatever they're witnessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, and something that's hard to explain. And these are things that are rare. And awliyas like these in this state, they usually stay away from people. And the wali never says, I have a spiritual state. He just feels that his state is difficult to be around people, so he stays away from people. But the wali is somebody whose ego has been purified and his actions have been purified, but they're not innocent, so they can become angry, but rarely. And then they go back to their normal form and they may seek excuse. And it's not something that is predominant at all times, definitely. Also, wilaya or is degrees. Somebody has 60% wilaya, so there are deficiencies. Somebody might be righteous, somebody might be a wali. What does it mean to not see the humanness of a sheikh? Is this when you want to take the path with your sheikh, is that you don't be distracted by the humanness of your sheikhs. Like if there's sheikh has things like it might get angry at times, or he has certain needs that are common in humans, you don't get distracted from the path. Like some teachers, uh, we're not saying that they have bad manners. We're just saying that they're not very patient. Meaning they'll say to come tomorrow with this sabak memorized, and then the person doesn't come with that sabak memorized, and so he kicks him out of the class. So, so they obviously they're supposed to work on that patience, but there's some are like that. So the dua for istikhara, when you're not able to pray istikhara, is a temporary alternative, not something permanent. Meaning, if you cannot pray the prayer of istikhara, you can't pray. Meaning, you might have your monthly menstrual cycle, or you don't have time. So then, that moment only, you come up with the dua of istikhara, or the Fatiha fi Imam al-Haddad, which requires an idhan and has a certain way of recitation, but it's not. If a person feels restricted around a certain person, is that something that is from his basira or from su'adhan? So feeling uneasy around a person, meaning I feel anxiety. What we mean is that when you feel like anxiety and fear, from just looking at that person's face. That's what we're referring to, that you should stay away from such people. But to feel uncomfortable sometimes because maybe you don't like the way they look, or what they're wearing or something like that, but that doesn't mean that that's a bad person. It has it that that's or their way of talking is not does. So you need to measure. He is happy for everyone to follow these lessons. Habib will be traveling next week, so he may not have this lesson, but he'll inform us if it can happen. I mean, may Allah adorn all of our states. Al-Fatih.